You should have that saved for yourself. We started filling it out. And so we introduced really three characters. Ruth, who's roughly 30. We described that she used to be pretty, that she's tired. We introduced her son, Travis, who's 10. He sleeps in the living room. And then Walter. Walter's our main character. He's in his mid-30s. He's lean. He's intense. But we made sure to write down that quote about Walter's quality of indictment in his voice. Nothing is his fault. Everything is someone else's fault. He's always blaming. He works as a chauffeur, but we were able to get our first desire with Walter. He wants a liquor store. He wants to invest and earn money and be able to provide for his family. Where we're going to pick up at the very bottom there of page 495, you notice that we're back to stage directions because we're going to introduce Benitha. Benitha is Walter's sister, Ruth's sister-in-law. And so if we take a look at the stage directions that are here, I'm going to give you a second to silently read them to yourself to see what you pick up. And then we're going to kind of give some detail that we can fill in here. Are they going to work? All right, tell me some details that we should write down about Benitha.
About 20.
She's, notice that it says about 20, perfect. So we're gonna put 20 here. What else? So she's got that slim and intense part like her brother. Anything else we should know about her character just from what they describe here?
It says she's not as pretty as her sister-in-law.
Yeah, she's not as pretty as her sister, and you're going, well, she used to be pretty. What's that mean about her? Don't get confused into thinking that the world has two sides to it, that either you're pretty or you're ugly. No, there's a whole continuum of looks that go there. I want you to see Benitha as, you know, if Ruth used to be pretty, think about her like she's still good looking. Benitha's kind of got that like mousy librarian kind of look to her, a book smart girl. She's not going to be on a magazine cover, but she's still attractive. And so they use this word handsome, and sometimes people get confused when they use the word handsome towards a woman to think she looks manly. Handsomeness is a little bit different in women. It's more of like squarish, sharp features. We often describe as having a handsomeness. So we also talk about her speech. They say her speech is a mix of many things. It's different from the rest of the families insofar as education has permeated her sense of English. Benitha goes to college. Do you think Walter went to college? Mm-mm. Ruth didn't either. You will notice that she will speak like someone who has had an education. She's not going to slur as many words together. She's going to use some stronger vocabulary than the rest of her family. And so don't get confused into thinking she's going to speak like way up here. No. We can just see her education being present. Now, when she comes out, we're going to go for comedic here. They say her hair's kind of everywhere. And she's got this long flannel like nightshirt on. Imagine that she stumbles out looking like the worst possible way she can. And so as we start hearing her speak, you're going to notice that's difference in her voice, difference in presentation. So we're going to start at the top of 496 with Beneatha's lines. We're going to let it run for a little bit. And so we're going to see how she interacts with her family.
Morning, Betty.
I'm going to start timing those people in that bathroom.
You should get up early.
Really? Would you suggest dawn? Where's the paper?
Betty, you are one horrible looking chicken this hour.
Good morning, everybody.
How's school coming?
Lovely. Lovely. And you know, biology is the greatest. Yesterday, I dissected something that looked just like you.
I just wondered if you made up your mind and everything.
And what did I answer yesterday morning? And the day before that?
Don't be so nasty, Betty.
And the day before that? And the day before that?
I'm interested in, is something wrong with that? Ain't many girls who decide
To be a doctor.
Haven't figured out yet just exactly how much medical school gonna cost?
Come on out here, please.
Walter Lee, why don't you leave that girl alone and get on out of here to work?
Beneath, you know the check is coming tomorrow.
That money belongs to Mama, Walter. And it's for her to decide how to use it. I don't care if she wants to buy a house or a rocket ship or just nail it up and look at it. It's hers, not ours, hers.
Now, ain't that fine? You just got your mother's interest head on, ain't you, girl? You're such a nice girl, but mama can always take a few thousand and help you through school, too, can't she?
I have never asked anyone around here to do anything for me.
No, but the line between asking and just accepting when the time comes is big and wide, ain't it?
What do you want from me, brother? That I quit school or just drop dead? Which?
I don't want nothing for you to stop acting holy around here. Me and Ruth have made some sacrifices for you. Why can't you do something for the family?
Walter, don't be dragging me in it.
You are in it. Don't you get up and work in somebody's kitchen and help with clothes on her back?
Walter, that's not
It
fair.
ain't that nobody expects you to get down on your knees and say, thank you, brother. Thank you, Ruth. Thank you, mama. Thank you, Travis, for wearing the same pair of shoes for 2 semesters.
Well, I do. All right. Thank everybody. And forgive me for ever wanting to be anything at all. Forgive me.
Okay, let's talk a little bit and fill out some things about Beneatha and clear some things up. So we know that Beneatha goes to college, but we can fill in her desire here. What does she want to do? She wants to be a doctor. So process this for a moment and remember that this play takes place in the 1950s. How many black girls do you think are going to college in the 1950s? Not many. And how many of those are trying to be a doctor? Very few. And even think, if we don't make this a race thing, how many women do you think are going to school to be a doctor in the 1950s? So when we look at what Beneatha wants, we see some of those challenges that are presented. Before we even start to talk about the fact that it's, she's coming from this family that really doesn't have money to begin with. And so you notice that becomes a really strong point of contention between her and her brother. He wants her to be appreciative of what they're doing. She is, but he feels like she's not showing it enough. And we see the struggles. Look at the fact that Travis goes without new shoes. Pieces like that. And so we're going to have those issues that come up time and again. But the biggest conflict that we have right now, you're starting to see, is what? The check. We're going to kind of float it here for right now with Walter. This life insurance check is coming tomorrow. We're going to find out it's for $10,000, roughly the amount that Walter needs to invest in this store. And so we're seeing different ways it can be spent. We're seeing arguments being set up about who is going to decide how this money is going to be spent. And so they're going to continue here. They're not done. We notice that Beneatha has been sarcastic here for a moment to introduce this, where she drops to her knees and shuffles across asking for forgiveness. We're going to ratchet this tension up.
Forgive me.
Please stop. Your mama will hear you.
Who the hell told you had to be a doctor? You so crazy about messing around with sick people? Then go be a nurse like other women. Or you could just get married and shut up.
Well, you finally got it said. It took you 3 years, but you finally got it set. Walter, give up. Leave me alone. It's Mama's money.
He was my father too.
So what? He was mine too, and Travis's grandfather. But the insurance money belongs to Mama. Picking on me is not going to make her give it to you to invest in any liquor stores. And I'm for one say, God bless Mama for that.
See, Ruth, did you hear?
Honey, please go to work.
Nobody in this house is ever going to understand me.
Because you're a nut.
Who's a nut?
You are a nut. V is mad boy.
The world's most backward race of people, and that's a fact.
And then there are all those prophets who would lead us out of the wilderness into the swamp.
Betty, why you always gotta be picking on your brother? Can't you be a little sweeter sometimes?
I need some money for coffee.
50 cents. Here. Take a taxi.
Okay. Mr. Walsh? Hey, I'm good. How are you doing? Sure. Okay. Yes. Okay. Mm-hmm. I would be wonderful with that. We get rated like every year, so. Yeah, okay. Yeah, no, that's great. All right, bye. Okay, sorry. Notice here, Walter finally says something, and beneath it says, it's taken you long enough, you finally said it. What'd he say? Something sexist. You're absolutely correct. Notice that when Walter gets pushed, he finally blurts out the thing that he's wanted to say for a while. Why don't you want to mess with people? Why don't you be a nurse like other women? Or why don't you get married and just shut up? Whew. This helps us to see Walter's quality of indictment. Walter's going to blame others. He's not afraid to just burn it behind him if somebody pushes him. And here it comes out. Beneath it. Let's talk about where we left off, this end. Why were people laughing with Ruth's lines?
Because Walter gave his 50 cents to Travis.
Remember, Walter gave Travis that extra 50 cents. And so here, when he has to come back after he's stormed out all angry, nobody supports me, blah, he has to come back with his head down and be like, I need money because I gave Travis all the money I had. And so notice that she makes fun of him. She makes those jokes. We said we get that quality between the two of them, but she gives him the money. And so he is going to leave, and we notice here that we're going to introduce Mama. Let's look at the description here of Mama. She is a woman in her early 60s, full-bodied and strong. She's one of those women of a certain grace and beauty who wear it so unobtrusively that it takes a while to notice. Her dark brown face is surrounded by the total whiteness of her hair. And being a woman who has adjusted to many things in life and overcame many more, her face is full of strength. She has, we can see, wit and faith of a kind that keeps her eyes alit and full of interest and expectancy. She is, in a word, a beautiful woman. Her bearing is perhaps most like the noble bearing of the women of the heroes of Southwest Africa. Rather, as if she imagines that as she walks, she still bears a basket or a vessel upon her head. Her speech, on the other hand, is as careless as her carriage is precise. She's inclined to slur everything, but her voice is perhaps not so much quiet as simply soft. So let's put down some things on your chart for Mama. Her first name is Lena. So if you hear someone referring to her that way, you know who we're looking at. What should we know about Mama? Yeah. There's a beauty to Mama. Now, she's not going to be like a knockout, but there is a grace, a beauty to her. She's in her 60s. We get this image, dark-skinned, white hair. And the white hair probably makes her darker skin stand out that much stronger. Mama is the opposite of Benita. If we said we can hear Benita's education in the way she speaks, we can hear Mama's lack of education in the way she's going to speak. Her voice is going to have more of a southern affect to it. She's going to slur words together a little bit more. You know, she's going to have that quality that kind of goes with her. Some actresses play that heavier, some don't. And so as she comes in, she's going to start asking questions. She's going to start assessing where things are. Keep in mind, Mama is Benita and Walter's mother, Ruth's mother-in-law. And think about how that relationship is different between someone who's an in-law versus an actual child. And so we're going to see that as well as we begin here.
Who that round here slamming doors at this hour?
Now you have a second set of stage directions here. Mama goes over and messes with what? A plant. Watch for the stage directions when they talk about this plant.
Was Walter Lee, he and Benny was at it again.
My children and they tippers. Oh, Lord. If this old plant don't get more sun than it's been getting, it ain't ever gonna see spring again. What's the matter with you this morning, Ruth? You looks right peaked. You aiming to iron all them things? Leave some for me. Benny, honey, it's too drafty for you to be sitting around half dressed. Where's your robe?
In the cleaners.
Well, go get mine.
I'm not cold, Mama, honest.
I know, but you're so thin.
Mama, I'm not cold.
Lord have mercy. Look at that poor bed. Bless his heart. Travis tries, don't he?
No, he don't have try at all, because he knows you're going to come along behind him and fix everything. That's just how come you don't know how to do nothing right now. You done spoiled that boy so.
Well, he's a little boy. Ain't supposed to know about housekeeping. My baby, that's what he is. What you fix for his breakfast?
I feed my son, Lena.
I ain't meddling. I just noticed all last week he had cold cereal. When it starts getting this chilly, a child ought to have some hot grits or something when it goes
I
out.
gave him hot oats. Is that all right?
I ain't meddling. Put a lot of nice butter on it. He likes lots of butter.
Lena?
Benny, what was you and your brother fussing about?
It's not important, Mama.
Okay, so talk to me a little bit about the relationship here that we see between Mama and Ruth.
She spoils Travis.
Yeah, who does? Mama. How many of you have a grandmother that spoils you? We all do. We all did. Do you ever watch your parents' face when they do that, though? Likely when your grandparent is spoiling you, giving you extra candy or saying, hey, have a second dessert, or, you know, cleaning up behind you. Your parents are probably watching just like, stop it. Stop it. And here we put it there. It's harder for these two because they live in the same household. Often you're separated. Anybody live in a household with your grandmother? Do you notice that issue becomes more between your grandmother and whichever parent is the in-law? Not their actual parent, not their actual child, but the other one? No, you don't see it at all?
I definitely do.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Different. Often it's tough, especially when you have this kind of dynamic where it's two mother figures and you see it. What are you feeding your son? You know, I'm judging based on what you're feeding him, and I want to make sure he gets what he needs. You see that tension. Now, Benita ran out, remember, because they all share a bathroom in the hallway. So when she heard the toilet flush, she knows the bathroom is likely going to empty quickly and she wants to get in there. This leaves these two alone. And we're going to get a chance to talk about, hey, what's going on between these two?
Ruth, what was they fussing about?
Now you know as well as I do.
Brother still worrying himself sick about that money.
You know he is.
You had breakfast.
Some coffee.
Girl, you better start eating and looking after yourself better. You're almost as thin as Travis.
Lena,
Uh-huh.
what are you gonna do with it?
Now, don't you start, child. It's too early in the morning to be talking about money. Besides, it ain't Christian.
It's just that he got his heart set on that store.
We ain't no business people, Ruth. We just plain working folks.
Well, ain't nobody business people till they go into business. And Walter Lee says colored people ain't never gonna start getting ahead till they start gambling on some different kinds of things in the world, investments and things.
What done gotten to you, girl? Walter Lee done finally sold you on investing?
No. Mama, something's happening between Walter and me. I don't know what it is, but he needs something. Something I can't give him anymore. He needs this chance, Lena.
But liquor, honey.
Well, Walter say I expect people always gonna be drinking themselves some liquor.
Well, whether they drinks it or not ain't none of my business. But whether I sells it to 'em is. And I don't want that on my ledger this late in life. Ruth Young.
Okay, before we go much further, notice what drives Mama in this choice. What does she have a problem with the liquor store?
Liquor.
The liquor part of it. We have to pay attention to the fact that Mama has that old school religion to her. I don't have a problem with opening a store, but I have a problem with selling liquor. I don't want to do that. She says, I don't want it on my ledger this late in life. I don't want to die and go to heaven and be judged for that. And so that's part of what's there. Ruth talks a little bit, if we wanted to fill out a conflict, Ruth talks a bit about her and Walter Lee having some trouble. Now, she's not specific about it, but she's starting to get towards where she can maybe express it a little bit better. And this is going to be something that comes up as we go through the play, this struggle between these two people that are married. So they're going to continue to talk here, and they're going to talk about what's wrong with Ruth.
Tonga, what's the matter with you today? You look like you could fall over right there.
I'm tired.
Then you better stay home from work.
I can't stay home. She be calling up the agency. My girl didn't come in today. Send me somebody. My girl didn't come in. Oh, she just have a fit.
Well, let her have it. I'll just call her up and say you got the flu.
Why the flu?
Because it sounds respectable to them. Something white people get too. They know about the flu. Otherwise, they think you're being cut up or something when you tell them you're sick.
I got to go in. We need the money.
Oh, Lord have mercy. Somebody would have thought my children done all but starved to death the way they talk about money here, Lee. Child, we got a great big old check coming tomorrow.
Now that's your money. It ain't got nothing to do with me. We all feel like that. Walter and Benny and me, even Travis.
$10,000.
Sure is wonderful.
$10,000.
You know what you should do, Miss Lena? You should take yourself a trip somewhere to Europe or South America or someplace.
Oh,
No, I'm serious. Just pack up and leave. Forget about the family and just have yourself a ball for once in your life.
You sound like I'm just about ready to die. Who go with me? What I look like wandering around Europe all by myself?
Shoot. These here rich white women do it all the time. They don't think nothing about packing up their suitcases and piling on one of them big steamships and whoosh, they gone, child.
Something always told me I wasn't no rich white woman.
Well, what are you gonna do with it then?
I ain't rightly decided. Of course, some of it got to be put away for beneath this medical school, and ain't nothing gonna touch that part, nothing. Been thinking that maybe we could meet the notes on a little old two-story somewhere with a yard where Travis could play in the summertime. If we use part of the insurance for a down payment and everybody kind of pitch in, I could maybe take on a little day work again.
Well, Lord knows we put enough rent into this old rat trap to pay for 4 houses by now.
Rat trap. Yes, that's all it is. I remember just as well the day me and Big Walter moved in here, though. Hadn't been married but 2 weeks and wasn't planning on living here no more than a year. We was gonna set away little by little, don't you know, and buy a little place out at Morgan Park. Even picked out the house. Looks right dumpy today. But child, you should know all the dreams I had about buying that house and then fixing it up and making me a little garden in the back. And didn't none of it happen.
Yes, life can be a barrel of disappointment sometimes.
Honey, Big Walter would come in here some nights back then and slump down on that couch there and just look at the rug and look at me and look at the rug and then back at me. And I'd know he was down then, really down. And then, Lord, when I lost that baby, little Claude, I almost thought I was gonna lose Big Walter too. Oh, that man grieved himself. He was one man to love his children.
Ain't nothing can tear at you like losing your baby.
I guess that's how come that man finally worked himself to death like he done. Like he was fighting his own war with this here world that took his baby from him.
He sure was a fine man, Mr. Younger.
Crazy about his children. God knows there was plenty wrong with Walter Younger. Hard-headed, mean, kind of wild with the women. Plenty wrong with him. But he sure loved his children. Always wanted them to have something, be something. That's where brother gets all these notions, I reckon. Big Walter used to say he'd get right wet in the eyes sometimes, lean his head back with the water standing in his eyes and say, seemed like God didn't see fit to give the black man nothing but dreams. But he did give us children to make them dreams seem worthwhile. He could talk like that, don't you know?
Yes, he sure could. He was a good man, Mr. Younger.
Yes, a fine man. Just could never catch up with his dreams. That's all.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about some of what we saw here. Lots to process. We see humor throughout. The idea of Lena going on a trip to Europe like a white woman. And, she makes that joke about, never got confused with being a white woman before. Big laugh. Same thing when they talk about the flu. And, tell me you have the flu. It's something white people understand. Big laugh. We show those disparate ideas. Mama tells us a little bit about what her desire is. She says, I want to spend some money for Beneath's schooling. But what is it that she's always dreamed of having? A house. And she tells us a little bit when Ruth brings up that word rat trap. She views this apartment as a rat trap. It's less than. And it makes Mama think back. And she thinks back to the fact that they were only supposed to live in this place for a little bit until they could save up enough to buy a house. And here they are, 40 some years later. It's the only house that Mama has ever known as an adult to live in this apartment. So to hear her daughter-in-law call it a rat trap bothers her a little bit. But it gets her to thinking. And eventually we introduce Big Walter. Now again, Big Walter, Walter's father, is dead. The life insurance money that's coming tomorrow is for his death. But on your chart, outside of the characters, maybe at the top, somewhere, or even in a box, I want you to write down the quote that she says came from Big Walter. She mentions that Big Walter was all about family, and he loved his children. And so she gives us that quote. Seems like God didn't seem fit to give the black man nothing but dreams. He did give us children to make them dreams seem worthwhile. I want you to copy that quote down because it's important. We'll write it up here so that you can type it as you see it. We want to get this quote because it's really going to provide for us the driving logic of the play. This is a family that does not have much. We get that. It's underscored with the description of the apartment as a rat trap, but to Mama's eyes, she looks lovingly at the place. We see that, race is already a part of the play and it will continue to be a part of the play. But we also notice that this is a play about parents and children. We have 3 generations involved within this play. Lena is generation 1. Walter, Benitha, Ruth are generation 2. And of course, Travis being generation 3. So we can see multiple examples of parents that want to provide for children. And it's going to drive the choices and the decisions and the conflicts that we have. But if we can keep this quote in mind, it gives us something to come back to time and again to go, okay, how are we supposed to see this? This is the driving logic of the work. How does it help us to understand what we're seeing? So we're going to bring Benitha back in. She has cleaned up. She has used the bathroom. We're going to give her a chance to start to talk about her day here. We're going to do just a little bit before we stop for today.
What could be so dirty on that woman's rugs that she has to vacuum them every single day?
Well, I wish a certain young woman around here who I could name would take inspiration about certain rugs in a certain apartment I could also mention.
How much cleaning can a house need, for Christ's sake?
Benny,
Just listen to her. Just listen.
Oh, God.
Benny, if you use the Lord's name just one more time.
Oh, Mama.
Just fresh as salt, this girl.
Well, if the salt loses its savor.
Now that will do. I just ain't gonna have you round here reciting the scriptures in vain. You hear me?
How did I manage to get on everybody's wrong side by just walking into a room?
What time you be home from school?
Kinda late. Madeline is going to start my guitar lessons today.
Your what kind of lessons?
Guitar.
Oh, Father.
How come you done taking it in your mind to learn to play the guitar?
I just want to, that's all.
Lord, child, don't you know what to do with yourself? How long it gonna be before you get tired of this now? Like you got tired of that little play acting group you joined last year. And what was it the year before
The
that?
horseback riding club for which she bought that $55 riding habit that's been hanging in the closet ever since.
Why you got to flit so from one thing to another, baby?
I just want to learn to play the guitar. Is there anything wrong with that?
Ain't nobody trying to stop you. I just wonder sometimes why you has to flit so from one thing to another. You ain't never done nothing with all that camera equipment you brought home.
I don't flit. I experiment with different forms of expression.
Like riding a horse.
People have to express themselves one way or another.
What is it you want to express?
Me!
Okay. They're going to laugh at her for that response, but it gives us enough to start to talk about what one of Benitha's conflicts is. Why does she keep trying out such different things?
She wants to feel like herself.
She wants to feel like herself, and frankly, she doesn't know who she is. She's 20. That's a normal kind of thing. What Benitha is struggling with is something that a lot of 20th century literature focuses on. Benitha is struggling with her identity. Who is she? How does the world around her define her and view her? And how does she fit into it? We said that she is very different than most of her peers, not just because she goes to college, not just because she wants to be a doctor, but because on top of all of those things, she's also African American. And so when she's looking around that college campus, she's not seeing many people that look like herself. And it starts to make you question, am I in the right place? Is this what I should be doing? How do people look at me if my own brother thinks that what I'm doing is stupid? And so we see that she's trying to figure out forms of expression. It's going to drive where she's going in the play. And this is going to become a subplot. So Walter's struggles are going to be the main plot. The subplot is going to involve Benitha trying to figure out how she fits into this world and how things work. We're going to stop there for today. Let's end this. Tomorrow, we will do